Hi, welcome to my channel. My name is Esther David-Lawal, and this is Story Time with Esther. I take trending stories online and bring them here so that we can learn the lessons and learn from people's experiences, especially as regards relationship. So in today's episode, I want to share a story of a lady I saw a post online, and I still keep forgetting to take a screenshot. Forgive me. In my next episode, I'm going to do that. So in this story, she called off a wedding that's supposed to take place next month. And by next month, I mean April, on the 6th of April 2025. So she called off a wedding. Why? That's what we want to find out. We are going to be learning amazing lessons from this story. Stay with me, don't go anywhere. Welcome back. So the story goes like this. She made a post about it and she wanted people to learn from it, especially single ladies. So what happened was that she was with her fiancé and one of his friends came over to pay them a visit. It was, I don't know if it was towards the evening. So and this friend just started a random conversation, and I'm sure it was intentional. So he asked his friend who was about to get married what he thinks about having a woman's name on a property. Let's say his wife, having his wife's name on a property that they both got together. And this lady's fiance said a woman should not have a property to herself. A woman is supposed to take care of the family. What is she using property for? It's a greedy woman that will be looking for property or wanting to have her name on the document of a property with her husband. What? The lady was like, come off it. Don't be silly. What kind of joke? What kind of joke is that? What do you mean? How do you mean that a woman should not have, a name, especially if they both work together for the property? The guy said, why? It's good for both of them to work together to struggle and get the property. But when it comes to registering a property, her name should not be on the documents. Oh wow, fantastic. Don't I'm coming, just calm down. So this was where the story got interesting. The man said instead of having his wife's name attached to any document, to any property, he would rather put his father's name or his sibling's name, whether sister or brother, is going to put any of his family members' name, not his wife. And the lady was like, ah, the woman that is going to marry you will try you. The woman that is going to marry you will try. These are people who were planning their wedding. And the guy was like, what do you mean by the woman? You are the one we are getting. The lady said, I'm not sure it's me you are getting married to. Now, what broke the straw that broke the camel's back was not even in all of these things the guy said. The moment he said that his wife and children will not have an entitlement to any of his property except his family from home. I mean, father, mother, siblings. That was what literally scattered this lady's, it loosened all the bolts in her head, and she was like, what do you mean, why? And then she realized that she had been doing situationship not a relationship. There was something profound the lady said. She asked herself, what have I been doing all this while in this relationship? And that is what a lot of people used to miss out on. When we were doing relationship for how many months, why is it that I never got to see this side of this guy? Why is it that I never got to know the kind of mentality he had? So one of the things that the lady said was that she realized that she had not been doing the right thing in that relationship. All she wanted to do was to get married. And thank God for this friend that came at the time it came, excuse me, and started asking very sensitive question. I want to believe that his friend, that guy's friend, knew something about him, knew the kind of mentality his friend had and wanted the lady to see or hear for herself. Now, just stay with me, please. She realized that they had never had a conversation as regards family. They've never had conversation as, as touching their values. Okay, what do you think about this when it comes to family life? What do you think about, couples having wealth together? What do you think about inheritance for your children? All of those communications were never ever spoken of. They never had it. They were doing mushy mushy, I love you, I love you. Now, when you are in a relationship, you don't want to miss out on very important details. Do you know what communication helps you do in a relationship? It's not just anyhow communication or conversation now. I'm not saying go and be talking about your favorite color, your best food, your shoe size. All those things are not necessarily important, right? The important conversations you need to be having in that relationship is, number one, what are your values? What do you what's your ideal when it comes to family? What do you think a family should be like? An ideal family should be like. Now, this is where it gets interesting. The guy, the ex-fiancé of this lady, came from a family where the father was a narcissist. The father would collect the mother's salary. The mother was a school teacher. This guy's father would collect his mother's salary every single month. The mother was to submit every dime she makes. She goes to work, works her ass off, and the man collects the money. And that's not just it. He beats her on top of it and demand that as a woman, you're supposed to be submissive to your husband. That's not the submission my Bible tells me of. It got to a point where the mother could no longer handle the abuse and she had to leave the marriage. Somehow, they said the guy said it was his father that drove the mother away. And he was left with the father. And the father now started teaching him things like when you're with a woman, you have to make her bend, you have to make her. So a guy who grew up with that kind of father, they say the apple does not fall far from the tree, will eventually become like the father. So if he was living with that kind of father, seeing how the father lived life, treated family, definitely that guy would have a very bad value, a very dysfunctional idea about what family should be. And so he was saying that his father did it to his mother and they all turned out okay. So what's there? He's not going to share any property with any woman. Yes, she must suffer with him, let them acquire the property, but she's not entitled to bearing her name on any property. Communication is very important and very sensitive communication at that. Ask them subtle questions, what they think about marriage, what they think about finance, what they think about finance, a whole lot of stuff. So she never had communications about this with the guy. She didn't know this guy had this a cake mentality about, I won't even call it a cake, I'll call it very, I don't know the word to use, but for lack of a better word, let's make do with a cake mentality about what submission should look like. Now we are going to the second part of the story. We are just starting. So the lady went further to say that she had only spent 4 days in the guy's house when all of these revelations happened. And so she felt like, oh, if I had cohabited longer, maybe I would have found out about this and more other stuffs. And so she said to herself that, next time I'm going into a relationship, I will cohabit for a longer period of time, at least 10 months. We are going to cohabit so that I will know a lot of things about him. I will know his personality, his character, the kind of family the person comes from, and blah, blah, blah. My fellow viewers, yeah, or my dear viewers, can you see what I'm saying? You want to go from fry pan and enter inside fire. And I love the comment section of that particular post that day. The comments were really giving what it should give compared to the typical Nigerian comment section. And a lot of people were saying it doesn't matter how long you cohabit with a person. A person would hide his true nature from you if he doesn't want you to see that side. People will show you what they want you to see about them. They will show you what they want you to know about them. And so she wanting to go and cohabit in her next relationship, Yoruba will say something that cutting off the head is not medicine for headache. It's not the cure for headache. You cannot say you want to go and be cohabiting with someone simply because you want to find out their personality so you don't make a mistake in marriage. And this is where I'm coming to the next lesson I want you to learn from that particular story. Okay, good enough she was able to get to see that part of that guy before the marriage. But something she was missing out, and I want you to learn, is cohabitation was not what exposed that guy's, ideology. Cohabitation was not what exposed everything she knew that day. It wasn't cohabitation. She thought it was cohabitation. And so a lot of people feel that when they cohabit with someone, they get to know their compatibility in every area, including sex aspects. It is not. So if you think you want to cohabit with somebody to know them, in fact, first of all, see finish will enter. You know what they call see finish? Let me move closer to you so you will understand me. See finish will enter inside that relationship. You have seen the guy finish, the guy have seen you finish. So what is left? That thing you are treasuring, that thing that's supposed to be like a treasure for him in the marriage or for her in the marriage. You have seen everything finish. So cohabitation is not what keeps a relationship going. Cohabitation is not what guarantees the success of a marriage. It doesn't. My dear brothers and sisters, it doesn't. So don't be delusional. Don't think, oh, if I cohabit with this person, I'm opportune to see his flaws, his strengths and weaknesses. I'll be able to know what to do and what not to do. I was seeing a video of somebody recently who said they made a research and discovered that the people who ended up divorced after a couple of years and those whose relationship didn't work out, especially the divorce in marriage, they said things would have turned out differently if they had not cohabited. So when people cohabit, they see themselves, they see everything, and most times because they are not really committed. Marriage is commitment. They are not really committed. They see it as an opportunity to like, well, let's try other options. So cohabiting would not have solved that lady's problem. And I hope that she saw the comments that day and she took heed to it. Eventually, how did the story end? She told the guy in the eyeball to eyeball, and said, this marriage, whole marriage thing is over. I'm not going to get married to you with the kind of mentality you have. You want to make me and my children suffer. So I will suffer with you to gather wealth, and then you give it to your family, leaving me and the children to suffer. I'm not doing that with you. And then she broke up the relationship. What now happened to the friend? The fiancé or ex-fiancé started fighting the friend. They said, why would he do that? Why would he come and cause problem and all of that? And according to the story, she said the guy, that's the friend to her ex-fiancé now, stood up and gave her a hug. So it meant that that guy knew what he was doing when he came to start that conversation. And the lady got angry, took her stuffs, and drove to her friend's place and left that house that night. So, my dear, this story is actually very true. I didn't make it up. I did not make it up, and I hope you have learned from it. So let's go over the lessons again. When you're in a relationship, make sure you're asking the right questions. Don't just go on dates, eat and drink. All those things will end up in the toilet. Don't just do mushy mushy, I love you, I miss you, and all those things you people used to say. They are very good, but have real conversations. Have conversations with your future in view, because you're going to spend the rest of your life on earth with that one person. You don't want to mess it up. You don't want to. Your children will come into the picture. You don't want them having a father or a mother that the head is not correct. Sorry to say. So have conversations. Know if your values align. You need to know those things. And then number two, don't ever think cohabitation will solve anything. It doesn't, it hasn't, and it will never. Okay, let me know in the comments what you think about this story. I'll be in the comments, I'll be reading, and don't forget to subscribe if you haven't. like this video and share for someone who needs to see it. I will see you in my next video. Bye for now.